So my phone cut me off. But I was saying, so I wasn't aware that this was going to happen, right? So it brought it back to my mind as this idea that God planted in my head like over a year ago. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I should think about this again, because I hadn't really been thinking about it so much because I didn't have anything that was telling me to think about it really, except for these dreams, obviously. But so I thought about it for a little while, and I was like, well, after a few months, like nothing ever progressed along this path to fruition, right? So I was like, okay, so maybe I'm really not supposed to think about this particular thing and worry about it. And so you kind of feel like you're a cat, right? Heavenly Father is like the owner, and he's dangling this information or whatever it is in front of your face, and you're really not quite sure what to think about it. And so after a little while, I just, nothing ever progressed. And so I just didn't think about this idea so much until I would dream about it, because I would keep dreaming about it, which was sort of frustrating and annoying, because I was like, why do I keep dreaming about this? Why do you keep putting this into my mind when it probably is never going to come to fruition? Because I didn't really think of it as a possibility, as a road in my life that I would be traveling. And that's what usually happens sometimes when God puts things into your mind that you wouldn't have thought of maybe yourself. So anyways, I'm sure as you're listening to this, you're like, oh yeah, that's me. Heavenly Father does that to me all the time. And if you have a close relationship with Heavenly Father, you kind of understand the way he works in your life. And then at the beginning of, I guess, this year, a little after the beginning of this year, it pretty much came to a halt where I thought, okay, this isn't just a dead end. This is completely dead. Like, there's no way that this is ever going to happen now because of a certain event that happened. And in my mind, I was like, okay, this is just you telling me not to worry about this anymore. Think of a different path, because this path is not clearly a possibility. And so I was like, okay, maybe I was a little disappointed, because by this time I have it ingrained in my head, right? Because I've been having all these dreams. And so I'm like, okay, I know you know more than me. You know why this had to happen. And so I'm going to take this different path. I'll try. And then a lot of things started coming up in my life where I could take a different path. Like, I started thinking about these other ideas, these other things, these other possibilities. And it was a positive thing for me. Like, I was like, okay, was I still having these dreams? Yes. But I wasn't worried about it, because I was like, I am on this new path, this path that is leading me to other things that seem really great. And so as I'm traveling this path, and I think I'm going in a different direction, there's a lot of things in my life the Heavenly Father dangles in front of my face. I'm just explaining one thing, because I could go on all day about the many things. But anyways, so I was like, okay, so this path that I'm taking, it's leading me in a direction that is really good. Like, I'm really thinking this is a good thing. And then as I travel along this path, it's like I'm back on that same other road because all of a sudden there's like one event, one circumstance, one thought, one idea after another that is coming into my mind and my life. And then all of a sudden I'm in the midst of this thing where before it was like just so long of a time in betweens. But this is like one thing on top of another, and it's just coming quickly. And these things, these events, these circumstances are like just happening all the time. And so I'm thinking, okay, I still don't understand how this is going to come about, but I'm taking all of the steps to do it. And I'm actually thinking, well, this is God's way. This is how God works, because I couldn't have done this by myself. And in this process, I'm thinking, well, I don't really see how this is going to work, but maybe because you keep putting this now all of a sudden and all these sequences that are really close together. And then just, it stopped. Like, again, it felt like a dead end. And so I guess that's what I'm fasting for. And if you're going through a process like this, maybe you can fast for it. Maybe you're in the middle of it. So what I'm fasting for is understanding and a clearness to come into my mind, understanding and clarity, I guess I would say. So if you're in the middle of it, you might not be fasting for that. You might just be fasting for, I don't know what you'd be fasting for, because this is the time where I feel like it's the end of this process, that it's either like all these dreams are going to be manifested or they're not going to be. And so I feel like this is the appropriate time to fast for clarity and understanding. But maybe if you're at the beginning or in the middle of this, and you might not know, because sometimes you think, well, it's going to happen right away, but then it starts to take years. And maybe sometimes it's 5 years, 10 years, you don't know. But in this process, I guess I would say whatever you're supposed to fast for, if you're going through this, or maybe you're fasting for something totally different. But if you're in this process, as I think maybe many of you are that are listening to this, then maybe you can fast for whatever it is the Heavenly Father is directing you to fast for. Patience, maybe. Patience to get to that understanding and clarity that you're not supposed to get right now. And one thing I would say is that Heavenly Father has a perfect plan, and whatever He does, I trust in. And I know that I will be happy because of that patience and trust. So since I'm at the end, I am fasting for clarity and understanding, but you might be fasting for something else. And so in that process, and you might be fasting for totally something else altogether. But anyways, so that is what I am fasting for. And it's kind of a long thing for my fast this month, but I just thought that I would share that because I couldn't get the cat out of my head. And at the very end, what does God say, or the owner say? Oh, you're such a good little kitty. And the kitty's like, yes, I've been patient. Anyways, and the kitty's like, I did all the playing around that you wanted me to do. So anyways, God doesn't play with us like that. But it kind of just made me think of that this week as I was preparing for my fast. So I hope that you're still fasting. I hope that this year, through fasting and prayer, you have learned a lot of interesting things about your life and how fasting and prayer works. And